Welcome, Diamond Domain. We are so excited and so lucky to have Ashley Choquette, Ruby Ambassador, sharing her words of wisdom with us on roadblocks, mindset, all that good stuff that I'm always preaching to you. This girl has a way with words, and I know that we are going to walk away with some awesome stuff. So get your pen and paper ready. And Ashley, thank you so much. We're excited to hear from you.
Hi guys. Oh geez, no pressure, right? Okay, so let's talk roadblocks. And what do I mean when I say roadblocks? Roadblocks are anything that make us hesitant or stop us from getting to where we want to be in our business. I've had quite a few of them so far with my journey, and I feel like that's pretty normal to have all these hurdles. I mean, we really are our own worst enemies, right? So what I realized is that instead of using these roadblocks as a crutch, if I could just figure out what they are, identify them, throw away my excuses, and then flip my mindset and come up with a plan, that was the key to my success. So our mindset really needs to align with our goals. So I'm going to tell you what my biggest roadblocks have been so far and how I've been able to overcome them. So the roadblocks I'm going to talk about tonight are overthinking things, feeling salesy and pressuring, having tunnel vision, disorganization, and lack of personal growth. And I'm going to break all those down for us. But the first one I'm going to talk about is overthinking. The way that you talk to yourself determines your outcome. So if you're thinking overly complicated and you're making things harder than it needs to be, then you're going to emulate that to your potentials and to your customers and to your team. We tend to make things so overcomplicated because we get too inside our heads. So I'm a classic overthinker. I literally analyze and overthink everything. I'm that girl that comes home from a party and is like, ooh, I hope that so-and-so didn't take this wrong, or ooh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And it's exhausting, isn't it? How many of you guys are overthinkers to an extent, right? We're overthinkers. So I'm going to go over two specific things that we overthink the most. We got to narrow it down, right? So the first thing is thinking that we need to know everything in order to be successful at this business. No, guys, we do not need to know everything. I'm an analogies person, so I'm going to give you an analogy. Before you were a parent, or if you're not a parent yet, do you ever look at a toddler and sit back and watch them and your eyes get all big and you're like, yeah, I could never do that parenting thing because it seems overwhelming, right? Well, I'm going to give you the secret to success. Those babies, they start out little for a reason, and you get this newborn and you grow with it, right? So by the time you get to the toddler phase, you're like, okay, this isn't so bad, right? But our Plexus business, just like those toddlers, they like to throw us curveballs. And as soon as we figure it out, guess what? We have to start all over again. It's the same thing with our Plexus business. So always be learning. We are always going to have a plan B. We're always going to have to work with trial and error. That's just the way of our business. This business is 80% mindset and 20% know-how. So that just means that we need to simplify things, stop overthinking, take things as they come, because that's the best way to learn the information. We tend to look everything as this big, huge picture, and it gets so complicated, we can't narrow it down. So stop thinking like you have to know every single little thing. The best way is to learn as you go. Ask questions. Retain the information slowly. If you feel like everything is overcomplicated, do you know what happens? You create a negative mindset. You start to feel like a failure because you don't know it all. And even if you are trying hard to fake it till you make it, people know when you've got that mindset shift and you're feeling like you're broken down. So the other thing that I used to really overthink is what I was saying to people. I don't know about you guys. I kind of used the party analogy before, but I constantly am thinking, how am I coming off to people? Am I giving too much information? Am I explaining things right? Do I need to stop talking? Am I handling these objections correctly? Again, it's exhausting. So one thing that's really worked for me and for my team is I set us up in pairs and we did some role playing. One person would become the customer or the potential customer, and the other would become the Plexus ambassador. And we would take each other through our spiels. This opened us up to other ways that people think about things and explain things. And it would give some good constructive criticism. Nobody learns anything when you sugarcoat anything, but when it's among friends, you're in that safe zone, right? You can really look at what you're saying and think about it and be able to push forward and maybe change your tactic. This has been a huge learning lesson for us. Really, really, truly. It helps you be more confident in what you're saying. And really, truly, as long as you have that confidence and that passion, it doesn't really matter what you're saying because people will believe it. That is what that is all about. So stop overthinking things, simplify. And if you're worried about it, practice. Find a buddy, find an upline, find a sideline and say, hey, can I take you through what I'm usually saying to people and maybe get some pointers? That's the best way to learn, right? So the next thing we're going to talk about is being pressuring, pushy, or salesy. I know that all of us deal with this to some degree because it's the nature of the beast. This is our business, right? So how many of you are afraid to come across pushy or salesy? Because I know I am every single day. So I was afraid of a lot of things, and we're going to break these down one by one, but I had to do some real soul searching on this one and some really big mind flipping to get to the bottom of these, because I feel like all of our intentions are really true. We just have to be careful about the way that we're going about things in order to justify it for ourselves. So when it comes to reach outs, right? Cold messaging. And I talked about this on the video with Emily. So I'm going to go over it again in case you haven't seen it, but I'm going to talk about it in a little bit different of a way. But I was afraid to cold message because I was so afraid that people were going to be turned off to me reaching out to them first, or that they think that I was anything other than genuine. But what I realized is that if I flip my mindset and instead of doing it for myself, I was doing it for them. And that's something that we really, really have to remember. We might have these goals, but we are doing this to help people. So if we make the conversation and the new reach out about them, it takes the pressure off of that sales pitch, because that's nothing we ever want to do, right? We have got to stop worrying about what people think of us and start thinking of the possibilities we're creating for ourselves and for other people. That's the common goal of what we're trying to do here. So you just never know who you're going to inspire next, but you have to open up the conversation first. One thing that I have realized is that people have just as hard of a time reaching out to us as that we do for them. So part of my mindset is ripping off that Band-Aid and making it easier for people, because if I reach out to them first, it takes that pressure off of them. Our minds, when we reach out to somebody, I think we tend to think that we're trying to convince them, right, to try Plexus or to talk to us further. Stop trying to convince people and start trying to connect with people. We hear all the time that relationships are the most important part of this business. That starts from the very first conversation. So stop trying to convince and start trying to connect. And then simplify what you're saying. You don't have to give this big thing. Just open up the door to the conversation. Tell them your story and ask them theirs. That's how you start to connect. When you can identify and connect with their story, they're going to take that cold reach out a heck of a lot better than if you go into facts and opinions, right? What else did I write down here? Please bear with me. Connect to their stories, connect to their struggles. What are they going through? And be that caring friend that offers the solution and helps people through it. Whether it's health or financial, we know Plexus helps with them both. So be there as their friend to help them through their struggles. And use that connection. Pressuring and feeling salesy when using follow-ups with potentials. Guys, I used to be that girl that was so afraid, going back to those spin sitters and just being like, okay, are you ready yet? Are you ready? Do you think maybe this is the month? And I felt so annoying and I felt like I was bugging them. But you know, what I failed to realize, and this is where my mindset had to flip. At one time or another, they saw a need for Plexus and they wanted to feel better, right? So sometimes they just aren't ready to make that commitment. And that's okay. So instead of feeling like I was annoying them, I decided to flip my mindset and just be the caring friend. right? Go back to that relationship and that connection. Maybe change my verbiage and remind them of why they wanted to start in the first place. Follow-ups don't have to be annoying. If they're done correctly, they actually show that you care and that you're not going to drop the ball on them and that you are committed to helping them on their journey. That's what you have to remember when following up. That is the mindset flip. I also needed to remember that although that we have Plexus in the center of our minds, they don't. They have a million things going on, and Plexus isn't important to them yet. So I had to remind myself that I'm not annoying. I was being impatient. So I had to wait for them on their time. That law of timing is a very, very important thing. The next pressure at your salesy situation is troubleshooting. You guys, when I would get a customer, everything would be fine and dandy until it wasn't. And we all know that at some point, every single customer that we have starts to experience some doubt or feeling some ick. I used to feel so panicky when I would have to give someone tough love, or I would get some pushback. And it was really hard for me to get them to power through. I felt pushy. And what I realized was that if I was too passive and that if I wasn't honest with people when I was troubleshooting with them, then it became easy for them to quit on themselves. It is too easy to give up on yourself when things get tough. Y'all, it's our job to take everyone on and be stronger than them when they try to give up. That is our job. People come to us looking for help, and if they quit or they give up before they reach their desired results, then we have failed to help them. Our mission is to help people, and we cannot help them if we don't help navigate them through the hard stuff and get them to the good stuff. So what I realized is that although it was really, really hard to have these tough conversations with people, it was the only way I was gonna help them. And that was too important to me. And I took on their goals as my own. So that's what I had to do to get them through. It's our job to lead people, not to push them. We have to be their leader. And there's a huge difference with that. And then the last roadblock, with feeling pushy is expanding your network. And I know that feels like a reach. Like, how is expanding your network and feeling pushy a roadblock? You guys are going to laugh at this one, but I used to not, how we're always told expand your network at like friend request people and everything. Y'all, I wouldn't do that because I was like, no, I can't friend request them. They might think that I'm trying to sell them Plexus. Mindset flip time, right? You never know whose life you're going to change next. I'm a believer that everything happens for a reason, right? So I need to learn to be brave enough to add those friend requests and everything, because you never know who is looking for an answer next or who you're going to inspire. And, I had to get it out of the back of my mind that adding people as a friend was something that was salesy, because it's really not. You can connect with people for things other than Plexus. I mean, the other thing I had to realize is, how many stories have you heard from your sidelines and your uplines about people that knew each other, like didn't know each other at all before Plexus, and then all of a sudden they became their rock star? Like, that was my hope of, I'm meant to meet certain people in my life. That road is already paved. I just have to be brave enough and get over myself and go through with it. Nobody is going to think that I friend requested them just because I'm a Plexus ambassador. That's on me. That's my way of thinking. So I had to get over myself with that one. You never know who your next BFF will be, guys. Just hit the friend request button and let them decide. Don't handicap that decision for them. The next roadblock we're going to talk about is tunnel vision. So I'm pretty guilty of not looking outside my box. I like to stay in my own little comfort zone. And I feel like this is true for so many things. And I'm going to narrow it down to two here. But the first area of tunnel vision that I want to talk about is posting. And when I first started out in Plexus, I stayed inside my box. I followed the 2 Plexus posts a day, 1 non-Plexus post, and I posted every single day. And when I was new, I would bring in people, but after a while, people stopped coming to me. I stopped getting new interests. And I was like, what is going on? And I'm a huge person of self-reflection. So I thought, well, I guess I need to see what everyone else is seeing from me. I mean, we post one at a time, but we fail to see what people are getting from us. So I started doing this homework monthly. At the beginning of every month, I go to my personal Facebook page and I scroll through and I want to see what people are seeing from me. So if somebody new goes to your page, what are they seeing? So I was seeing a lot of graphics. And I was seeing a lot of bullet point, informational things. And I realized that although I was deathly afraid of becoming salesy, as I've already talked about, I was coming off very salesy. I was being a sales ad. So I needed a new plan. So I realized that if I posted about the products, I was selling a product. But if I opened up my vision and I expanded a little more and I posted more stories and experiences and I posted about health and wellness as a whole, then I wasn't talking about products. I was talking about my lifestyle and I was talking about health and wellness. There's a quote that I hear all the time and I feel like it's really important to go back and remember, and that is facts tell, stories sell. But y'all, had a bit of an issue. This is where my next roadblock with posting comes in. I knew that if I posted real pictures and I told more of my real stories, that people would pay more attention. But I was crazy afraid of looking self-absorbed. I was so afraid of looking like one of those girls who always posts the same selfie. I didn't want that, right? But what I realized is that I'm my own brand, me. Right? People come to me. My friends come to me. They became friends with me. So I had to figure out who I was. I think of Facebook posting as like, I am a performer, I'm an actor, and my Facebook is my stage, right? So what did I want my audience to know about me? So the next homework I gave myself was writing down a list of all the things that I wanted to convey to my audience. Off the top of my head, some of those things are that I wanted to be genuine and trustworthy and fun and knowledgeable. So from now on, if my posts don't hit at least a few of those things, I don't post it, or I tweak it to make sure that my message is really, really clear. I realized that my tunnel vision included talking about Plexus too much and other things not enough. I wanted to give people other reasons to watch me other than health and wellness and Plexus, right? So who am I? I'm a mom. I'm a crazy cat lady. I am a lover of random thoughts that pop into my head. I'm a lover of people. I seek advice from others. I had to start sharing those things with people. Y'all, this is when my business started to explode. When I got over myself and my fear and I started showing people who I really was, that's when people started paying attention. I learned later that this is called attraction marketing. I didn't know that that was a thing. But this also helps me to not feel so salesy, because I found that this is a way to involve people in my life and not just in Plexus. So I am Ashley, who happens to have a passion for Plexus products and health and wellness, and a business that I am crazy proud of, not Ashley, the Plexus ambassador who wants to sell products to you. So I had to rebrand myself, and I had to get very comfortable with who I am and sharing who I am, and people respond to that. All right, the next tunnel vision topic I have for you is my why. We've all heard that your why will change, and it's so important to be in tune with that why, because your why is your emotional driving force behind your passion for this business. So I realized a few months into this that I had been handicapping my why. I was so afraid to let myself dream. And I was so afraid to really sit and think about what I really wanted out of life. So I had to throw out that fear of failure, and I had to let myself really put pen to paper on what I really, really wanted. I sat and thought about, What does my perfect day look like? What do I want my retirement to look like? What do I want for my kids when they're adults? And I had to really expand my why. And I had to not be afraid to go there. Your why should make you cry, right? And we hear that all the time. And I thought I had that until I realized I didn't, because I was just so afraid to go there in my mind. But although I knew that I knew what my goals were and what I was working towards, and I swore I was not going to cry when I got to this, I had failed to communicate what my why was to my family. I started getting some pushback from my husband and my kids, and I was doing this for them, and they were starting to become resentful. I was getting a lot of, well, you're always on your phone and you're missing out on this, and you're on computer calls in the evening, and you're on the phone while you're cooking dinner. And I was trying so hard to balance everything. But what I realized was that I had failed to communicate why I was doing all of these things with my family. So we sat down one night and we had a conversation about it at the dinner table. And I told them my why and what I wanted for them. But more importantly, I asked them what they wanted from me. If this had to be a family goal, this couldn't be an Ashley thing, right? Because my family is my core reason for doing this in the first place. I was doing this to give my family a better life. So what was important for them? You know, this has been so therapeutic for us as a family. They're now invested in my goals. I explained to them why I'm doing this, what I'm working towards. Hey, mommy has this goal, and you guys, I want this so bad, but I need your help. I'm going to have to be absent a little bit. So what is important to you that I not miss? Okay? Because I want to make sure that I'm there for that for you, but we might have to let some other things slide. Daddy might have to do dinner every once in a while, and daddy might have to do bedtime, but mommy will do it on all the other nights. With my husband, it was, hey, what do you want after retirement? You've been the breadwinner for so long. How can I help with that? You know, and I realized that he had been afraid to dream. He hadn't thought about that, you know. This has been a huge game changer for us because I feel like the family communication is all there now. They make it fun and they push me and they're like, Mom, how many ambassadors have you assigned? You better get to work. You know, they keep me honest. I also kind of gave them a goal for every rank up. They think they're getting a puppy when I hit emeralds. I think they're going to Disneyland. So be really careful. Set some boundaries on that one because they think they're getting a puppy. And I'm like, no, maybe not. So one thing that we did at our Ruby retreat this past weekend was we were asked to write down our top 10 priorities in life. Okay, so I want you to really sit and do that homework and think about it. What are the little things that you're willing to give up to be where you want to be? What little things are you willing to sacrifice until you get there? And with my husband, I had to sit down and be like, listen, this is too important for us and for our financial future. I need you to let me work really, really hard for 2 years. Give me 2 years. And I will ask this of you, but not that of you. So for my kids, it's maybe having my nose in my phone at practices, but putting it aside for all of those games. You know, making sure that if I miss bath time and dinner time, that I'm there to tuck them in at night for bed, you know? So that has been really, really huge. Talk about your priorities with your family and get them on board. It seriously will be the best thing that you can do to push through those roadblocks. Because if we feel like we've given up on our family, we'll never be able to push forward in this business. Disorganization is the next thing I'm going to talk about. And I will tell you, this has been one of my biggest roadblocks. I used to have no plan. Some days I still don't, I'm going to be honest. I am a feather floating in the breeze. And I kind of wake up and I'm like, what should I do today? What motivates me today? And then I realized when somebody said you're the own CEO of your business, I thought, you know, if I was employed by somebody, I probably would have been fired by now. Like my productivity level is probably not the best at what it should be. And that's a harsh reality to realize that by not being disciplined in our day-to-day actions, we're really, really, really holding ourselves back. it's so easy to get sucked into the wrong priorities, right? Scrolling through Facebook, answering questions, commenting on things. And I would tell myself, I'm building relationships. Like, I'm doing these for a good thing. And then I would look up and it's been an hour or so, you know? How many times have you had a day where at the end of the day, you sit and you look around and you're like, well, I was busy all day, but I don't really actually know what I accomplished or what I got done. Like, I had those days all the time, and I realized I was really doing my business a disservice. So the other thing I realize is the busier my schedule is, the more productive I am with my Plexus business. But on the days where I really have nothing going on, I tend to think I have all the time in the world and I don't get things done. So I had to start scheduling for myself. And I'm gonna be really honest, this is not something I'm very good at yet, but I'm trying really, really hard. I learned that I need to lean heavily on that planner. This went really well in January, not so much in February, but it's March 1st and I'm going to start trying harder again. And I'm going to forgive myself for being disorganized some days and not others, but I need to start writing everything down. So in my planner at the month end, I write every single one of my ambassadors down, every single one of my white lines, every single one of my current customers. That way, when I say, hey, I need to have a day where, today's follow-up day, I can go to that list rather than having to take that extra step and look it up in my back office. This has helped me to keep organized. So when I have 10 minutes, I can start on those first 5 names. In the beginning, I used to organically, people would just pop into my mind. But now as I've grown and I have all of these other things I'm trying to prioritize, those names fall out of my head. And I don't want to forget about anybody. Follow-ups is something that I really got away from. And it's hurt my business. It's time to get myself on a schedule and get back to that. What did I write up? Siri's great at reminding me things too. So when I check in with somebody and I say, okay, well, in a couple days, I'm going to check in with you to see how this regimen is going. I tell Siri to remind me. And she's my backup. I mean, she's my BFF in that manner. In the back of my planner, how many of you are guilty for making your list and then losing your list? Right? Yeah. I would start a list and then I'd be like, oh, which notebook is it in? So I'm keeping that in my planner in the very back, and I keep a running list. I have my dream team list. I have my potentials list. And that way, when I'm feeling really, really brave and it's IPA day, I can pick 5 names and go. I'm not trying to come up with who I am going to message next, because I don't know about you guys, but when I sit down and I can't even think of what to do, I end up doing nothing. And I used to get all of these brilliant moments, and I'd have all these light bulb things, and then I would sit and I would forget to write them down. And so then when I'd go and I'd be like, oh crap, what am I going to do next? Write down your brilliant ideas. Have a central location for all of your posting ideas. Whether that's in your phone or on that, it's going to help with your productivity. And that's something that has really, really, truly helped me. The one thing I did for my team, and this has helped a lot too for organization, how many times are you scrolling through Facebook and you're hitting the save on posts, but then you forget to go back and look at them? So I created a posting page for me and my team. I took all of my favorite posts, all of the compliant posts, all the really good personal posts, and I put them in one big group page. It's my museum of posting. So that when I need a creative idea, I can search through all of those and I can grab some creative ideas and get my wheels turning. This has saved us a lot of time, and it has increased the value of our team's posts. So it took me a good 4 hours to put that together, but now I have somewhere to put all of those posts, and it's a visual. It's a good visual for me. So that has helped with my organization a lot too. At the end of the day, I tried to make sure that I did a minimum of one thing to help my business move forward. Sometimes when I get overwhelmed or I feel like I haven't done anything enough, I try to make myself a list of things I should be doing daily or weekly or bi-weekly or monthly. But I'm the kind of girl without a schedule, so that gets really hard for me to keep up with. But at the end of every day, I make sure that I did one thing to move my business forward, whether that was follow-ups or new IPAs or, the attraction marketing, expanding my network, one thing minimum per day. And then I totally lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. One thing that we did at this retreat was we did an exercise on what our Plexus priorities are. So just like we did with the life priorities, I want you to prioritize your top 10 things in your Plexus business. This was a huge eye opener for me because, you give yourself a couple minutes, you write down all your priorities, and then you sit and you reflect and you realize, and your priorities that pop into your head first end up being where you concentrate the most amount of your time. So I had to sit back and realize that if I want my business to push forward, I need to move those priorities and I need to keep myself accountable to those things because I was spending a lot of time on things that weren't necessarily going to push my business forward. So it's just helping me to concentrate on the things that were more important rather than the unproductive ones. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about is the lack of personal growth. When I asked my team what their roadblocks were in their business, their number one answer, what do you think it was? It was themselves. Their biggest roadblock was themselves. I'm going to tell you right now that your biggest opponent is right between your ears. We are all our own worst enemy. And our mindset and our negative way of thinking things, even when we're trying to be positive, is what holds us back. So how do we start pushing through this? How do we build our self-esteem? Well, I think that starts with figuring out your fears. That has been the biggest eye-opener for me. We have to figure out what we're afraid of in order to succeed in this business. We have to acknowledge those fears and then throw out our negative mindset and our excuses and tackle them one by one. For me, this is a people business. And if I couldn't figure out how to communicate and talk with people, whether it be potentials or it be my team, I was getting nowhere. So I read the 4-Color Personality book by Big Al Schroeder, and you guys, it opened up everything for me. I now feel like I can connect with people better. I'm more confident when I speak. I'm more intuitive with what people need from me. Communication is key in this business. We are a product business, but we are a people business first. If we can't connect with people and we can't speak their language, we're going nowhere. So that was how I took care of that fear. The second one is I was so fearful of not being a strong enough leader for my team. So I had to start with me first and work with being a leader for me. And then I had to work on being a leader for other people. So I read the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. I talked about this on the last video a little bit, but I read it with my uplines and with my sidelines. And now I'm teaching it to my team. And let me tell you, going out of your comfort zone and doing something that makes you scared, but being transparent with your team about it is the best way to get out of your own way and work on that personal growth. I had to get over myself and I had to put on my big girl panties and I had to lead my team in leadership. And nothing makes you step up to the plate more than when you have people looking at you to help them. So, it took a lot, but I did it. And I'm leading my people in leadership and I was not comfortable with it, but pushing yourself out of your comfort zone is what creates that confidence. You'll never know if you can do it until you try. The other thing I'm fearful of is talking to people in public. When anybody brings up anything, I get so fearful. So I had to arm myself with that, right? Practice makes perfect. So bringing up Plexus to strangers or even to family and friends, I practiced. Not so much that I sounded like a robot, but enough to where I didn't flub. There's nothing worse than somebody saying, what do you do for a living? And be like, Plexus, I don't, and you don't want to sound like a moron, right? So we had to practice that. And I didn't want to sound salesy, so I didn't want to do the whole, well, Plexus is a health and wellness company. So what I came up with is, remember, facts tell, stories sell, was when somebody asks me what Plexus is, I say, oh my gosh, well for me, it started back in 2015 when I had my own health struggles and this is what it's done for me. And then I've been able to create this business out of it and I'm so proud of it. And that is what I talk to people about. But I have to have that in my back pocket ready to go. I also have, I don't know about you guys, but I'm horrible about just bringing Plexus up in conversation. So I started giving myself like little prompts. Like when I think about when I see somebody who's complaining about being tired all the time, like what would I say? How could I bring Plexus up to them without, being that crazy sales girl that just throws their business card at you? What do you say when somebody starts complaining that they can't lose weight? Having those little conversation starters in my back pocket has helped me so much. Remember, confidence is key. So anything you can do to make yourself more confident is going to help you fake it till you make it, right? Also, I feel like identifying your strengths and your weaknesses helps a lot with personal growth. I tell myself and my team so often, strengthen your strengths and forgive yourself for your weaknesses. I feel like we all try so hard to be good at everything, and that's not attainable. Right? It's not attainable. So then we have this feeling of failure, and that leads to negativity, which leads to a fearful mindset. So you have to, and I know we did another exercise at this retreat, and I know I keep going back to that, but we all wrote down the things that we love about everybody on these cards, and we had to read them out loud. And it was the most beautiful thing, seeing people read things about themselves that they hadn't really realized before. We are all so hard on ourselves. And I think we're so afraid of feeling that conceited and feeling proud of ourselves because we turn that into a negative thing. It is so beautiful to see people, realize how others see them. So one thing I realized is that because we're all so hard on ourselves, is that we need to be more complimentary of each other. So, increasing the confidence in others helps to increase the confidence in ourselves. So don't be afraid to share those little things with your team. And don't be afraid to be proud of your successes and be proud of what you're good at. I feel like we all dumb down our strengths because we're also afraid that, we're going to be, giving ourselves a pat on the back or tooting our own horn, but we're all good at things. It's okay to be proud of that. I also think it really helps to be honest with your struggles to the people around you. Not necessarily in like a negative or a whining way, but we got to get our struggles out there. I will say that one of the things that I realized from doing that video for Emily Roberts was that so many people had been struggling with the same things that I was, but no one was really talking about it. So by bringing it front and center and into the light, it kind of normalized a lot of things that people were feeling. And from what I've seen and from the response that I've gotten, it made people a lot braver and kind of ready to dig in and march forward. So don't be afraid to talk to your people and brainstorm about your struggles. In my team, we brainstorm, we role play, we make plans, we vent. As long as it's therapeutic and we're making plans to move forward, it's okay to vent. It's a necessity. We get scared to do the things and we tend to stay in our comfort zones, but we all know that stepping outside of that comfort zone is where the magic happens. And that's how you create that personal growth and you get over that horrible mindset and you get over that, and push forward. So I challenge you, what are you scared of? How can you get around it? How can you push yourself? All these things add up to that personal growth. And at the end of the day, what I realized was that my business success depended on my ability to self-reflect, to identify my issues, and then to find enough grit to power through it. We've got to get out of our own way. These roadblocks don't have to mean the stop of our success. We can push through them. We are servant leaders, guys. We help people feel better. We help create a better quality of life for others. And we need to hold on to that truth and keep that in the center of our being whenever we start to feel, scared of what we're doing. It's what we need to hold on to. And if you're feeling lost, just go back to that, because that is what is going to get your mindset through. So anyway, thank you guys so very much. I hope that was beneficial to all of you. I feel like I flubbed a lot.
Oh no. Oh my gosh. That was so good. I felt like I was a bobblehead, just like nodding, like, yes, yes, yes. My head was almost going to pop off my body because I was nodding so much. So good. Thank you so much. Do you have time for a few questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
If anybody has a question, you'll have to unmute yourself and then ask away.
Oh,
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
First of all, Ashley, you're awesome. I seriously didn't know how you could possibly do as great of a Zoom as you did last time. And it like blew it out of the water. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
My question is, you had mentioned how you like to have like in your back pocket when somebody is asking you or is talking about weight loss or whatever. I'd be curious kind of what an example of some of your back pocket, conversations are.
Well, I actually learned from a girlfriend of mine. She is very, very bold. That is something that I do not excel at. That is not one of my strengths, but it is one of hers. So we need to be learning from people who are the yin to our yang. And there was one day that she's good at just bringing Plexus up in everyday conversations. And she was in a Dunkin' Donuts, and she saw the girl behind the counter drinking her coffee. And she's like, oh, coffee, huh? Yeah, I like my coffee, but it's nice not to need it. Do you feel like you kind of need it to get by? And she was like, yeah, I do. And she's like, well, what if I could tell you that there was something with a lot less calories and you could enjoy your coffee as a treat and not necessarily like to get you through your day? And so just learning those little tricks, I think, has helped me a lot. Like, again, I'm an overthinker. I make it so hard, but it really is that simple.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Any other?
Hey, Ashley, this isn't necessarily a question, but I wanted to kind of soundboard off of what Maggie said. And I think Mila also had posted something about this at one point. But after watching your last Zoom with Emily Roberts, I caught myself wanting to write down so many notes that I couldn't keep up, and was like, I want to listen to this while I'm multitasking, because that's the beauty of this business. But I couldn't, and I had to stop and find the time to write literally 5 pages front and back of notes. So I just wanted to thank you for taking your time to pour into us, because what you're saying matters.
Thank you. Thank you.
100%. I mean, she's a future diamond, right? I mean, holy cow, this girl's a diamond. Totally. Oh my gosh, Ashley, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much. This was incredible. I'm going to rewatch this because I need, just like Jordan was saying, I need to just take more notes. I need to listen again. I need to soak it up. The team is going to love it. Everybody that couldn't be on. So thank you. You are amazing.
Thank you.